Okay, so let's dive into a story that's all about a phone network, a massive global power struggle, and what ended up being a very, very expensive breakup. We're going to see how a single high-tech decision put Canada, of all places, right in the crossfire of a geopolitical storm.
I mean, just picture that for a second. The silence, that cold shoulder from your absolute closest partners. And look, this wasn't some hypothetical scenario. For years, this was the reality for Canada. That kind of quiet tells you something is deeply, deeply wrong.
So, what was it? What made Canada the awkward cousin at the big intelligence dinner party? Well, it all came down to a single piece of technology, one that Washington and its allies saw as a huge security threat. Canada's hesitation to do something about it, well, that's what created a huge rift in the world's most exclusive intelligence club. Right, so this was way more than just an awkward dinner. This standoff, it really represented a fundamental breakdown of trust at the highest levels of national security. And, to really get why this silence was so deafening, you have to understand what the Five Eyes Alliance is. It is built on one thing and one thing only: absolute trust. We're talking about sharing the most sensitive secrets imaginable. So when your partner stops sharing with you, they're not just being quiet. They're basically telling you they don't trust you anymore.
And the source of all this distrust? It was Canada's reluctance to ban the Chinese tech giant Huawei from its 5G network. For the US and the other allies, letting Huawei in was like handing the keys to your country's entire data infrastructure directly to Beijing, a total non-starter.
So in the end, Canada had to pick a side. But untangling itself from years of investment and its partnership with Huawei, well, that came with an absolutely enormous price tag, both in dollars and in political pain.
$700 million. Just let that number sink in. That's the estimated cost for Canadian telecom companies to literally rip out all the Huawei gear they'd already put in. And this isn't some government fine. This is a direct hit to the companies building the network, a cost that, eventually gets passed down. It's just a staggering amount of money for changing your mind.
And this phrase just captures it perfectly, doesn't it? It wasn't a simple technical swap. No way. It was a messy, costly, and a really painful divorce that forced Canada to fundamentally rethink its entire technological future. So here's the impossible choice Canada was facing. You got to see it from their side. On one hand, you've got Huawei offering top-tier, world-class 5G technology that's also affordable. But on the other hand, you have this stark warning from all your allies that this same tech could have a backdoor for Chinese state surveillance. It's the classic showdown: economic benefits versus national security.
And this is exactly why the decision was so critical. See, 5G isn't just about getting faster movie downloads on your phone. It's the future. It's going to run our power grids, our self-driving cars, our hospitals, everything. So protecting this central nervous system suddenly became the #1 non-negotiable security priority.
So what finally pushed Canada over the edge? Well, it was a series of crises that all hit at once, turning a really tough situation into what one source called an engine change at 120 kilometers per hour. A total nightmare.
Okay, so 3 big pressure points brought this whole thing to a head. First, the detention of 2 Canadians in China, the 2 Michaels, which almost everyone saw as direct retaliation from Beijing. Second, the sheer technical nightmare of trying to replace core components of a live national network. And then finally, you had this broader security awakening, which led Canada to ban federal funding for research linked to foreign states. Suddenly, the pressure was coming from every single direction.
So when you look back at this whole saga, what's the big takeaway? Well, it delivered a pretty stark verdict on the relationship between technology, security, and global power here in the 21st century.
The entire conflict, really, it just boils down to this one question. It sounds simple, but for years, governments and companies really tried to have it both ways. This story proves that eventually you have to pick a side. What would you do?
And that leads us to maybe the ultimate lesson here. The whole idea that technology can somehow be neutral, that it can exist separate from the politics and the intentions of the country that made it, that idea is over. It's done. In a world of strategic competition, every single piece of critical tech comes with strings attached.
And let's just end on this thought, because it's a powerful one. The battlefields of the future, they're not just on land or sea or in the air anymore. They're the digital networks that connect all of us. The invisible infrastructure that powers our entire world has become the new front line in the contest for global influence.